How you doing, Mr. Thorpe? Good to see you.
Not bad. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm enjoying my off season. I'm enjoying my food. I'm
You
enjoying my
can you
food.
can you off all season, are you?
I'm off the whole season. Yeah, I've done
Yeah.
three seasons in a row. And
Yeah.
I've forgotten what it feels like to be eating normally. Put it that
Yeah.
way. You
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I wanted to have you on, Paul. So just for the benefit of this podcast, Paul is a big veteran in the game in more ways than one. But we'll touch on what I mean by that. Uh, So what I know of, this is what I know there's more, but what I know of is you are the IFBA Ronda over 60s champ. That was last season. UNBA Universe second place over 60s, and you got a first place at the over 78 kg at the NPA British Finals. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I lost you there for briefly, but I think what you're saying is I won the British title. Yeah, over 78
But yeah,
kilos. Yeah, no way.
so Paul, just a few things I wanted to ask you. How long have you been training for? Because you've been doing this a long time now. A long time now.
Well, off and on, I've been training. I'm ex-Navy. We dabbled with weights while we were in. I won't call it training. It was exercising. We used to do a little bit here and there. No structure, no plan, nothing. And then at age 42, I was out of the Navy. I had a lung condition, cost me some lung function. So I started training to regain some of that function, which worked. Um, and then fast forward to 2011, I had a near catastrophic injury to my left leg. And part of my rehab that I sorted out myself was to get into weight training. The surgeon said I would never be able to lift heavy or do anything really constructive. I made him a bet that I was going to compete in bodybuilding. I went to see my first show in 2012, the NPA Southwest in Taunton. Thought, yeah, I could do that, and competed the following year. So less than 18 months from near loss of my left leg to stepping on stage. Um, yeah, it was an interesting journey. So I've been, in short, been competing since 2013.
Right. And so that's the thing. You took some of that grit from the Navy into your competing. Same mindset, that grit.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm the first to hold my hand up. I haven't got talent. I haven't got genetics. What I have got is discipline and the ability to focus and knuckle down and do the work. As I said, I'm not the best by any stretch of the imagination, not gifted in any way, shape, or form. It's just hard work. That's all I can give it is give it hard work. One of my favourite poems is by a guy called Dale Wimbrough. It's called "The Man in the Mirror." Have a look at it, and every so often I look at the man in the mirror. Have I done all I can do with no excuses? You know, and if I can look in the mirror and look at myself, go, yeah, I've given it everything. Then that's all. That's all I can do.
I think you're personally. I think um, sometimes you're hard on yourself, Paul. I think last season, um, I really enjoyed those some of those talks we had in the dressing room, and I think you're a bit hard on yourself. I mean, as bodybuilders, we're never really happy. We always think, how can we improve this? How can we improve that? But um, I don't know many 60-year-olds who are in your shape because there's a select few that you might compete against that we see. Um, we hold ourselves to different standards sometimes. This is just my point of view, but it's such a
Yeah,
small percentage. You know what I mean? In terms of the populace. Uh, so
absolutely. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
There's that.
I think you're right. I think I look around at my peers in the over 60s class,
Yeah.
and bloody hell, there's some outstanding athletes there. But when you compare myself to the general population, then probably, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm 45, and most 45-year-olds that I know aren't in your shape. You
Yeah.
know, you
Cool.
think about it.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're better than you think, Paul. I think I saw one of your Instagram posts where you said, "Oh, am I good enough? I don't know if I'm good enough." Look at your trophy cabinet, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Says it all.
I don't want to come overly as overly humble or anything like that. I've worked hard, and I truly believe I deserve everything I've achieved. But there's been a fair bit of luck on the way. I have to say,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I don't cherry pick competitions, but I've been in competitions where I've done well, shall we say?
yeah.
So, but equally, there's a fair few. You can see on my trophy cabinet the trophies. What is less visible are the also competed medals. You know, the didn't place medals and things like that.
Yeah.
The participation medals, and there's far more of those than there are trophies.
You have to be in it to win it, as they say as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
So have you always been self-coached?
Always self-coached, yeah. Um, to start with, it was only going to be a one and done in 2013, just to prove the doctors wrong. Um, I got bit by the bug. I came off stage absolutely buzzing. It was a very emotional event for numerous reasons, but I came off the stage buzzing. I thought, right, this is it. I did that at age 49 and thought, right, I'm going to set myself a 10-year plan for the over 50s to learn everything I can about myself and about training and nutrition and competing, and maybe compete on the world stage at the over 60 level. Um, as luck would have it, I managed to achieve an international competition in my 50s. I placed in that competition, so I got a top three in Europe, which I was happy about. I basically achieved my goal a couple of years early. But yeah, always self-coached. For me, the big buzz is the learning.
Yeah.
I put a plan into place. Again, possibly part of my Navy tradition. I put a plan into place in the off season. I see that through the whole season and make adjustments for the next season, which is why it was a 10-year plan, because I knew I couldn't change my plan mid-season. I had to see my plan through, otherwise I'd never know if my plan would have worked or not. So
Right.
that's the way I've always worked. I've looked at coaching, I've looked at nutrition and things like that, and it's not that I know better than everybody else. It's not that I'm more qualified than anybody else. It's that I have a particular medical condition where I'm on anticoagulants for life, and I don't think others understand how I have to manage that with consistency with diet. My diet has to be 100% consistent. Small fluctuations change the way my blood clots.
Right.
If it goes one way, I could bleed to death with a minor cut. If it goes the other way, I could clot. So I have to
Right.
manage that. And I've done some research. I say research. I've trawled the internet. I've emailed magazines. I even emailed Eddie Abu in London at one point when he
Oh,
was writing Reflect.
okay.
And to my knowledge, I don't know of anybody who competes whilst on warfarin. There have been bodybuilders that have had heart episodes and been prescribed warfarin for a period of time and then come off them again.
Yeah.
But my whole journey has been on warfarin and anticoagulants. And I don't know if anybody else has done that. So I don't know anybody else that could manage the way I work. Um, and as I said, I enjoy the learning. I enjoy putting a plan into place in the beginning of the year, seeing it through to the end of the year, and how did my results go? Did I achieve what I wanted to achieve? And I have to say, year on year, I've made improvements,
Definitely.
and
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's where and that's all I can wish for. And I enjoy the science behind it. I enjoy learning and doing things like that. I'm never one, even in my work career. I don't like being told what to do. I like to find out for myself what works and what
Yeah.
doesn't work and how I can improve it.
Mm.
I don't follow instructions very well. And I'll be honest, I don't think I'd be a very good client because I'd be questioning everything.
Yeah. Yeah. We spoke about this actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. And have you only sort of trained at home throughout, or did you used to go to the
I
gym?
started off the first few years training at home, and it got to a point where I thought, right, I'm going to need some other equipment to help me go forward.
Mhm.
So I joined a local gym here in Truro, and that was okay for a while. And then COVID hit,
Mhm.
and necessity. I went back to training at home, and I noticed some improvements. I noticed my focus was better. There was less interruptions, and
Right.
despite all the fancy kit that was available at the gym, going back to basic bench pressing with dumbbells, basic, squats, basic picking stuff up off the floor over and over again, it added something to my physique that I wasn't getting from all the fancy equipment that was at the gym. So after COVID, I did go back for a while, but the atmosphere changed. There was lots of kids there. There was Instagram had become a thing, so there's tripods and things everywhere.
Yeah.
And the commercial gym wasn't the same place where people went in there, headphones on, got down to the work and did the business, nodded acknowledgement at each other, but didn't stop and chat for 5-10 minutes. So I came back to my home gym, and again, the improvements have been phenomenal. To the point, I mean, I'm almost worried about my weight at the moment because I'm currently tipping the scales around 95 kilos, but I'm probably as lean as I've been at this point of the season for many years. So I've gained muscle. I know I have. I can see that in the pictures. I can see that in my upper body, my chest, my shoulders, my back.
See it, yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for just getting down and doing the dirty basics. Just picking stuff up off the floor, putting stuff over your head, and doing stuff like that. I enjoy training at home. I don't enjoy training with partners. I've never had a partner. And my training philosophy is probably different to what most people would follow. I like as heavy weight as I can do for as many reps as I can do. So at the moment, I'm pressing 45 kilo dumbbells, incline press for 25 reps. So
that's
not
strong. That is strong.
But a lot of people would poo-poo that and go, well, you go heavier. I'm training at home. It's my home gym.
Yeah.
Getting 50 kilo dumbbells off the floor or whatever is just not safe, especially at my age. So if I can increase the weight, I will do. But I love the high rep stuff, and I find that really works for me personally. I'm long-limbed. I'm very tall, 6'3", 6'4". My arms and my legs are long and lean and slender. My joints, my wrists are quite thin and narrow. I'm not suited to the powerlifting, heavyweight, low rep stuff. I'm more suited to the endurance stuff. If I was a runner, I wouldn't be a sprinter. I'd be an endurance runner.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And you got to train accordingly.
Work to your strengths, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how old are you? If you don't mind me asking, Paul.
I'm 62 now.
62. That's impressive. That's very impressive. And how have you found it competing so often while being married? I mean, I know you're an older couple, but how does your wife kind of feel about it? Generally speaking, does she mind?
It's my thing. This is my time now. I put a lot of effort into my children when they were younger. My son played football, rugby, whatever. I became a football coach. I became a football referee. I became a rugby coach to help him, develop. My daughter was a dancer, so I worked in a theatre to help her when she was doing the dances at pantomimes and things like that. So I got jobs there. So I spent a lot of my younger married life looking after the kids, and now this is my time. And we've both had careers. I'm ex-Navy. I've had a career. I now work in a factory. I've had a management position. I'm now a supervisor. She's a senior midwife. She's a ward sister. We've got our own careers, and we look after ourselves. I do my own shopping. I do my own cooking. She does likewise. We don't live in each other's pockets, so she's supportive.
Yeah.
She comes to shows when she can, but it's not her thing. This is my thing, and there'll come a time when I can no longer do this, and then maybe we'll travel or maybe we'll do stuff together. But at the moment, she spends a lot of time with my grandchildren in Taunton. That's where she is now. She's away for nearly a fortnight now doing that. I'm working, so I just do my own thing. And I think it's part of having two separate careers where we work shifts and things. We've each looked after ourselves with no problems at all. We don't need to be together to be a partnership, if you know what I mean.
It's probably another reason why you've lasted so long as well.
Yeah, Quite possibly, yeah. It's nice to have 2 weeks of peace and quiet.
I can imagine. I can imagine. No offense, Mrs. Ford. I don't know you, but just joking, all right? Just joking, Mrs. Ford.
Yeah,
But yeah.
cool.
So what shows have you got coming up? If you don't mind me asking, Paul.
Right, if I'm now just about 3.5 weeks away, I'm doing IBFA Rhondda Valley. I like to throw in my main focus is the NPA, Natural Physique Association, and they got one show this year, which is the British Finals in September, and that's my goal. So that's where I'm aiming all of my prep to being in my peak condition for that show in September. But I like to throw in one show a month at least as step targets to get me to where I go.
Right.
My mental makeup is if I only do the show in September, I've got plenty of time. I'll leave it to the last minute. Whereas if I've got shows every month, then I can progress my way to where I need to be.
Makes sense.
And I'm not afraid of stepping onto them. Although I compete, lifetime natural, I'm not afraid of stepping on the non-tested stage to mix it up just for practice.
Well, you won last season, didn't you?
Yeah, I won and got an often place, in one, because they allow you to enter, two categories. I always enter the age class and I always enter the heavyweights or the class one, height class.
Yeah.
And usually I come away with a trophy of some description. And it's good to practice. It's good to practice with no pressure because it's a non-tested federation. I'm not expected to do well. If I do well, brilliant. If I don't, hey, you're an athlete on an open stage. But it's good to practice my peak week. It's good to practice my tanning. It's good to practice my posing routine live, under lights, under pressure. It's all those things that you can't practice in a gym or in a studio or in your bedroom or wherever. You have to get up there on stage and do it. So I've got that one in 3.5 weeks. And then I've got UK drug-free Heart of England. And I haven't done a UK drug-free show for best part of 5 seasons now, so I'd be interested to step back on their stage. And then I've got another IBFA show in the end of June, I believe. And I've got a gap in July, so I'm looking for something in July, perhaps. And and then I've got BNBF and then NPA. A busy season.
Busy season, and that's the thing. That takes a lot of stamina. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of stamina.
I like to, as I said, my focus is going to be the NPA British Finals. That's the one I want to do well in. I want to do well in that one and qualify for the European Championships in Paris in November. So that's my goal. And everything else is, as I say, is me aiming to get improved show on show until I get to that stage. So I'm prepared to fail or fail. I'm prepared to not do well at first, as long as I improve along the way. And I find it easier I can't peak multiple times a season anymore. Even back in my early 50s, it was difficult, but it was easier than it is now. Right. Now I can hit condition once and once only. So I have to, ease into it, as it were. That's not to say I don't give it my best shot at each show, but I have to remain grounded and realistic as to what my ultimate goal is.
You touched on an interesting point there about peaking. So how long would you feel your peak lasts for? So let's say you peaked for the show in September. How long do you think you could hold that condition for at your age now compared to when you were 50? What have you noticed in terms of how long you can hold that for?
It's if I do well in September, I would expect to be able to hold my condition until the November show. Anything after that will be a struggle.
Right.
That being said, what I've learned is as I've got older, I can no longer do the big bulk off seasons. I can't go mad off season. I have to stay pretty much on a prep diet, albeit with slightly higher calories. I can't do the burgers. I can't do the pizzas. I can't do the massive meals, tubs of Ben and Jerry's and things like that. If I do that, I just get fat, and then I'm going to struggle to lose it. And trust me, at 60 plus, losing fat is harder than it sounds. And anybody in the outside of bodybuilding is trying to lose weight, I have every sympathy with them trying to lose weight, because it's a nightmare. It really is. And I've noticed over the 10 or 12 years that I've been competing, it's got progressively harder every year.
I see. How did you find the UNBA? Because you placed that final as well, didn't you? So how did you
Uh,
find that?
yeah, I placed this year, and I actually won 2024. So I won my class out there. Uh, so what I would say is, competing in the States, the hardest thing for a British athlete is to qualify. Once you're out there, 9 times out of 10, the British athletes are far more conditioned than the Americans are.
Oh wow.
I've also competed in Europe, in France, Italy, Germany, Spain, and what have you. And again, the European conditioning is head and shoulders above anything the Americans bring. And the British are pretty high up in the level of conditioning in Europe as well. The caveat to that is the Spaniards. The Spaniards, their teams are phenomenal. When I competed competed in Spain with the ICN, the Spanish team, they had to have their own check-in. There was like 60 athletes in the Spanish team alone. It was incredible sight, and all of them were top class. But some of the other countries, not quite so conditioned. The Brits always turned up conditioned, always. And I see that when you see the Instagram pictures or the Facebook pictures, social media pictures of WBN, WNBF, BNBF. You watch the pictures in the DFAC, and the Brits are always head and shoulders conditioned far more than the others, guys.
It's interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, would you do that this year if you qualified though? Would you do it again?
No. I've done UNBA in LA twice now, and I want a different goal. It's not that if money was no object, if time away from work was no object, if I was retired, for example, then perhaps yeah. But I've decided on a different goal, and my different goal this year is Paris, and to do the WNBB, I believe it is, Europeans, which is the NPA British is the qualifier for. So that's my goal for this season. Next season, will I go back to LA? Perhaps, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll have another goal. Maybe it might be with a DFAC, wherever they do it. Cayman Islands looks nice.
yeah. That's good stuff. So,
yeah.
Are you going to keep competing until you can no longer do it, or have you said to yourself you're going to give it a couple of more years? Is it just see how it goes?
I've got two schools of thought on that way, and it depends on my mood at any given time. One, training is keeping me young physically. You've touched on it. At 62, there are people out in Zimmer frames, mobility scooters. I'm pulling, my record trap bar deadlift this year was 200 kilos for 8 reps. There ain't many 62-year-olds that are doing that. Right?
Yeah.
So it may not lead me to a longer life, but I'll have a better quality of life for as long as I live, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's one train of thought. And there's another train of thought is, if I'm stepping on a bodybuilding stage, I'm only ever going to go backwards. What's the point of me doing that? And if I don't step on stage, then will I have the same enthusiasm for training? So my gut feeling, and my wife's gut feeling as well, she said, don't be bloody stupid, you're going to keep doing this until you drop dead, is I will compete. I will compete until I'm no longer physically able to do it. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, who knows? Who knows what, I've achieved a UNBA Universe win at 60. I'm a British champion at 61. Who knows what I can go on to do over 70, perhaps,
Yeah.
There's guys out there competing over 80s in the DFAC, the BNBF British finals. There's over 80s there, and they're competing in the DFAC. And who knows? One thing I've learned from my Navy career, that I don't know if you're familiar with but way back in the day, the Earls Court, the Royal Tournament, Royal Tournament, where they used to have the field goal competition, where they used to break down the artillery piece and run it around the track and over walls and across. Look it up. It's a big thing.
Right.
I had the chance to run that once at Earls Court, and I turned it down. I was a young lad. I was on the beer, socialising. Yeah, I was strong. I was fit, and I turned it down. And that's been my biggest regret ever, is missing that opportunity. So, if anybody was to ask me what my motto is no regrets, no what ifs, no if onlys. I don't want to be looking back and lying in my hospital bed at some point in the future. Oh, if only I'd have carried on until I was 70, maybe I'd have been world champion, or maybe I'd have been this. No, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens.
That's good stuff. And what advice would you give to younger athletes in terms of being able to sustain longevity? Because you're one of the, I mean this with the most respect. It just is what it is. You're one of the oldest competitors who have come to know on the circuit.
Yeah.
And you're still competitive. You're still placing. You're still winning things. So you must know something. Do you know what I mean? So what advice would you give in terms of longevity for the younger competitors or athletes who want to prolong their careers?
Patience and discipline and consistency. If you're chopping and changing your diet, you're chopping and changing your routine, you're going to get injured. And you're going to, if you chop and change your diet, your gains are going to come and go, depending on what you're doing. If you're not consistent with your training, it's very difficult to monitor your progress. If one day you're doing squats and the next day you're doing leg press and the next day you're doing hacks, how do you know if you're improving?
Yeah.
For me, pick an exercise that works for you. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's leg press, it's leg press. If it's squats, it's squats. If it's front squats, it's front squats, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And just do it until you cannot improve anymore. And I guarantee you, there's far more improvement to be made than people give estimate for. It slows down for sure, but you can always do more reps. You can always do more sets. You can always add a little bit more weight.
Mm.
But consistency matters far more than being kept interested in the gym. I'm not here to be entertained. I'm here to do work.
Yeah.
Exercises are just tools to get me to what I want to do. So I'll always incorporate. So to take my chest routine, for example, it's always incline dumbbell press. Now, probably at my age, I've probably near maxed what I'm going to do weight-wise, but I can always do more reps. I can always do more sets. So that will always stay as my compound move. I will always do a variation of flies. At the moment, it's cable flies on an incline, but it might be dumbbell flies in 6 weeks' time.
Yeah.
But as long as my compound move stays the same, that's how I can measure my progress. Is that giving me the reward? Now, some people that might be flat bench press. For me, that hurts my shoulders.
Yeah.
It could be whatever. It's finding out about your own body, finding what exercises work for you, what range of motion works for you, because the internet is terrible for preaching perfect form, and it has to be textbook.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
As I've touched upon before, I've got long arms. For me to get to do flat barbell bench and get the bar on my chest, my shoulders and my upper arm is so far behind my shoulder that it's just an injury waiting to happen.
Mm-hmm.
For me to get my arms down to where it's good, the bar is 6 inches off my chest.
Yeah.
So it's finding a rep range and a range of motion that works for you, that keeps you injury free and gives you the growth that you want. And it might not be textbook. It might be an adaptation of that. And the best advice is to listen to your own body. If a youngster is training and feels like he can train 7 days a week with high volume, go for it. What have you got to lose? What have you got to lose?
Yeah.
Sticking to what the cookie cutter internet gurus will have you believe. 8 reps, 3 sets. No, experiment. Find out. Put the time in. And consistency will keep you injury free as well. Chopping and changing, doing fancy exercises, you're only ever going to get injured. And then, you know, injuries at a younger age, probably not so bad. Not some career ending. An injury at my age, that's end of career.
Yeah, I understand, mate. Well, Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I'm honoured that you've taken time out of your prep to speak to me. Hope to see you on the circuit next year. God
Yeah,
willing.
cool. Looking
But
forward to it, buddy. Yeah.
Paul, have a great season. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to pan out. I know you're going to do well, and take it easy. We'll speak soon,
Thanks,
mate.
buddy.
All right.
All the best, mate.
Take it
Thank you
easy.
for the opportunity to talk to you.
No
Thank you.
worries. Take it easy, mate. Nice one. Bye-bye now.
Cheers,
Bye.
mate.